Welcome. Welcome, everyone. My name is Madeline Swick, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Ron Thies.
Hi, I'm Ron Thies. Madeline and I are software engineers on the Tableau mobile team. We've been at Tableau for a few years now, working out of the Seattle office.
And today, we are here to help you deploy and enjoy Tableau mobile at enterprise scale. The purpose of this talk is to go into the inner mechanics of Tableau mobile and have you all successfully deploy Tableau mobile to your company. We got a lot of content here today, so I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to start by introducing you to Tableau mobile. So if you just walked in, you've never used the Tableau mobile app before, I'm going to walk you through what we support and our features. Next, I'm going to talk about two areas we get a lot of questions from our customers about: how to connect to Tableau Server and how to authenticate with Tableau Server. I'm going to talk about the backgrounds, the deep details, so you can successfully deploy Tableau mobile. At which point, I will pass the mic over to Ron.
So we'll talk some about mobile device management systems, kind of what they do and how you can use them. We'll talk about how to use those to customize Tableau mobile. You can customize the sign-in experience now. We'll talk a little about how to manage offline on the device. There are some offline capabilities now and some coming soon we'll talk about. And then we'll talk a little about how we do things internally on the Tableau mobile team. And I feel I should warn you ahead of time. So Madeline and I are engineers on the team. This is not a talk about designing mobile dashboards. There are some great talks on that. This is not one of those dashboard design talks. So we might get a little detailed at times, just a heads up.
That's right. We might get a little technical, and I'm going to start you off. Just a little bit about me. I've worked at Tableau on Tableau mobile for about 2 years now. Before that, I worked at Amazon on their Android Fire tablets and Fire phones. So let's start off with our product mission statement. Tableau mobile is the fastest and most delightful way to stay on top of your data. There's a couple pieces to that. One, we believe mobile products should be fast. You're on the go. You want to take out your mobile device, open up Tableau mobile, answer your question with your data. Second, we think mobile devices are pretty fun. You should have a delightful experience when you open up Tableau mobile, when you're trying to answer those questions with your data. And finally, we think mobile is not just a form factor, it's a new way of answering questions with your data. So here's our Tableau mobile app. We launched it on the iPad last year. This was the new version of our app. It was a server companion app to Tableau Server to get access to your workbooks and your worksheets. It has a mobile-friendly navigation. It brings your favorites and your recent vises up close, so you don't have to type in with your thumbs those long workbook or worksheet names. Last year, we announced Tableau mobile on the iPhone. This was big. We never had Tableau mobile on the phone before, and our customers loved it. And while we do show a lot of Apple products in our demos and our screens today, that's not completely fair, because this year we launched Tableau mobile, the new version of our app, on the phone and on the Android tablets, which made me very happy as an Android user myself. What can you do with Tableau mobile? You can interact with your data. You can zoom in on your touchscreen, tooltips, filtering, highlighting as well. But one thing that is different about Tableau mobile and mobile products in general is that you're often offline. You might not have great connectivity. So we encourage our users to favorite their vises because we have this snapshot feature. Snapshots are images of your data, and when you favorite a viz, we periodically download in the background an image of that viz. So if you were just walking around, take out your mobile device, you will have a static image of that viz, even if you don't have any connectivity. Yesterday, Britta showed on Devs on Stage offline interactivity. This is really exciting. Those two will download in the background and be available to you. So now that I've introduced you to Tableau mobile, you might be asking, okay, well, what's different? What is different about mobile? Well, mobile platforms are unique when you're managing them. You have different operating systems. You have iOS and Android. Your users are used to a different ecosystem. They get software as apps from app stores. Also, because you have a different ecosystem, You have different security concerns. Another huge point is that bring your own device is common. We hear this from our customers all the time. People want to bring their own mobile device, their own phone, their own tablet, and connect it to the corporate network. Finally, the device is very personal. How people use it, how they want it to work, it matters a lot to them. So this is just a couple ways in which managing mobile is different, and they'll come up as we go throughout our talk. So let's get right in there. We're talking about connecting to Tableau Server. What do I mean about connecting to Tableau Server from Tableau Mobile? I mean that at the very lowest level, being able to exchange a request and response from your mobile device to your Tableau Server. Now, where a Tableau Mobile is a server companion app, so one of the first things we have you do is type in your server name. In this case, I've put Tableau Server as my server name, and we want you to hit connect. But a lot of things happen right away. First of all, to actually connect to your Tableau server, you need to have access to the server. A lot of our customers have servers on-prem behind a firewall. How am I going to get access to that Tableau server? I call this the can you hear me now problem. Second, you need to have a successful SSL handshake. This is for HTTPS connections only, which we really recommend. But mobile devices historically have had trouble with certificates and having the device trust the server. Now, both of these points depend on your own network setup. So if you use Tableau Online or Tableau Server hosted in the cloud, these are generally not a concern. I'm going to go through both of these hurdles and talk about ways to address these two problems that you come up with when you first start using. So let's talk about network access. You have a couple options for getting access to your server if it's on-prem behind a firewall. First, a reverse proxy. Reverse proxies provide external access to your Tableau server, and this would not just be for mobile. This would allow you to connect to your Tableau server from home. I've included a link at the bottom. We have instructions about how to set up a reverse proxy for Tableau. A reverse proxy is a server addressable from outside your firewall that proxies requests to the Tableau server and back. This is a really nice setup and very common. So the second way of network access is a mobile VPN solution. Mobile VPN provides a tunnel to your company's internal network. Now, historically, mobile VPNs have been crufty, which is software engineer talk for crappy. They have been very flaky. They also have involve a lot of configuration that would be hard to explain to your users. Now, what's nice about mobile VPN is it is making strides. It's getting much more reliable. It also comes packaged with a lot of the MDM solutions you might be considering. Another great thing about mobile VPN that's coming up, that we're seeing come up now, is that mobile VPN historically would have all your traffic from your mobile device go through your corporate network, which, because your device is personal, people didn't like that as much. But now a lot of the solutions have what we call per app or on-demand VPN, so only specific apps go through the mobile VPN where others don't and other traffic doesn't. So this is a really nice solution as well. So the takeaway from network access is you need to talk to your networking team about what solution makes sense for your company. You do not want to cowboy a hole through your firewall to have Tableau Mobile talk to Tableau Server. This is really important. Talk to your networking team. They might already be considering a reverse proxy solution. The MDM solution may be already in the works. So we've checked the first thing off our list, access to the server. Now we want to have a successful SSL handshake. This is for HTTPS connections only. And historically, devices have had trouble with this. We've had people say, well, why are we using HTTPS if it's so hard to connect over mobile devices? Maybe we don't even want to use HTTPS. I'm going to say here today that you need to use HTTPS. This is really, really important. I put it up on a nice, soothing blue slide for effect. HTTPS verifies that the server is who it claims to be. When you're talking to your Tableau server, you want to know you're actually talking to your Tableau server, not someone who's impersonating your Tableau server, just like if you were going to a shopping website or your banking website. Second, HTTPS prevents eavesdropping. So even if you are talking to your Tableau server, you don't want someone network sniffing your traffic, finding information about your data. So this is really important. One of the things we see the market going this way. First of all, we see Chrome. Now Chrome labels all HTTP sites as insecure. Apple has also said that all apps submitted to the App Store after January of 2017 have to specify why they're allowing non-secure connections. We're going to be able to say that because we are, of course, allowing you guys to connect to your servers, but this is the way the market is going. Let's use HTTPS. So if we want to use HTTPS, what's the problem? Why can't my mobile device talk to the Tableau server? And I'll go through a little bit of what's going on. So your mobile device has certificate authorities installed on it. This is the same of any browser on any desktop that you have. Certificate authorities are third-party companies that certify that a company is who they say they are and give them a certificate. So when you have a connection to, say, server 1, it will have a certificate signed by A. In this case, because I trust certificate authority A, this connection can take place. Likewise, if you had a connection to server 2 signed by B, it would take place as well. So we're connecting over our mobile device successfully. Well, what's happening with my Tableau server? Well, a lot of companies will use their own certificate authorities. So when I try and connect to my Tableau server, my mobile device doesn't know my company's certificate authority. It doesn't know anymore. So this connection will not take place. So what do you have to do? It's pretty simple. Just have to install the certificate authority on your device, in which case when you talk to Tableau, you get a successful connection, and everyone's happy and secure. So we've checked the 2 points off our list. We have access to the server. We've had a successful SSL handshake. Now we can talk to our server. We say hello in the form of manual auth format equals XML, like you do. And in which case, XML server info is returned. The server info is server information about your Tableau server. It's a long list, but things that might give meaning to you are external version equals 10.0. So this is a 10.0 server. And it also now lists a list of authentication methods. In this case, I see that we support user password for my authentication method. This now leads me on to authentication. Why do we need to authenticate to our server? Well, it's important. Authentication to Tableau server gives you a workgroup session ID. A workgroup session ID is specific to you and required for access to your Tableau content, to your data, to the information that's important to you. It also manages access. So as a member of development, I might not have access to marketing vises or finance vises. I only have access to my own development vises. That would be managed by my workgroup session ID. So remember, this is your key to your Tableau server to get your data. So Tableau Mobile supports several authentication methods. It supports user password, SAML, and Kerberos. Notably, we do not support trusted tickets or OpenID. Now I'm going to walk through each of these authentication methods, and I bet we could all agree there's a lot of configuration to authentication methods, and they all deserve their own 50-minute plus talk about them. But today, I'm going to be focusing on what you see in Tableau Mobile with these different authentication methods, and a little bit about what's going on in the background. So here's user password authentication. After the user has connected to the server, typed in their server name, hit connect, we will open up a native dialog for them to type in their username and their password and hit sign in. What's happening is that Tableau Mobile actually first requests a public key. This public key is used to encrypt the credentials that the user types in. We then pass those over to Tableau Server via the login call. Tableau Server verifies your credentials and returns a workgroup session ID if your credentials are valid. Now this is what we would call local auth. The most popular setup actually for this is having it backed by an Active Directory. Ooh, that happened. Okay. And we're back. So it's the most popular setup, as I said before, was having an Active Directory setup. This allows your credentials to actually be verified by your Active Directory. All your users are in your Active Directory. This is a very popular setup. And in fact, is used by most of our Tableau mobile users, is having local authentication backed by Active Directory. So next up is SAML authentication. SAML is an acronym. Can anyone tell me what it stands for? Security Assertion Markup Language, but very close. Awesome, thumbs up. So Security Assertion Markup Language was invented in 2001, updated in 2005. It's built on the premise of splitting your service provider from your identity provider. This is really great because then you can share identity providers across multiple services. This might be very familiar to you. In this case, the client is Tableau Mobile. The service provider is our Tableau server, and the identity provider is one of your own choosing. I don't find this acronym super helpful, but if you want to take away anything from that SAML acronym, I take the assertion. That comes up later, asserting who you are. There are lots of flavors of SAML. We support SAML authentication in a web view. It is a server-initiated, passive, XML form-based SAML authentication. We support Ping 1. This is Tableau Online, and also familiar Okta. We support via a SAML experience as well. So what's happening in our SAML authentication? We load a web view, which is a browser-like experience in your mobile app. It's full screen. You'll see it in a lot of apps. We load a SAML URL from our Tableau server, which redirects to the identity provider. The identity provider that you've set up is responsible for all the credentials and verifying who you say you are. In this case, I have user input, username, and password are very common. However, it can be anything. It can be security questions. We've actually seen our customers set up multi-factor authentication using SAML, which is really great. At one point, the identity provider says, yes, I know this is Madeline, in which case they redirect with the assertion, with the A, to Tableau server asserting this is Madeline. In which case Tableau server says, I know who Madeline is, and in which case it notifies the app. We do one last exchange with Tableau server to grab our workgroup session ID for us to be logged in. This is our second most popular setup, but it is becoming more and more popular as things move to the web. So finally, our last authentication method is Kerberos. Currently, we only support it on iOS. Kerberos is an oldie but a goodie. It was invented in the 80s. It is named for the three-headed dog that protects Tartarus in Greek mythology. It supports single sign-on for multiple services, similar to SAML. It also supports longer-lived sessions with ticket-granting tickets that can be set up to last as long as a day. Or actually, I think you can set up for longer than that as well. Now, Tableau has some requirements to do Kerberos. You need to have an Active Directory setup. The Active Directory domain controller is actually the one going to be responding to that Kerberos protocol that we're going to go through. Another big point, you need to have a profile for the Kerberos installed on the mobile device. It will have the user principal name, the username, and it will also have your realm. Now, I've bolded user principal name because it will mean that this profile is specific to your user. So unlike the certs that were common across everyone, you can't just email a profile out to your users and have them install on the device and have it work. Now, like server, if Kerberos fails, it falls back to user password authentication. You've probably seen this before. So what's going on in the Kerberos authentication? Tableau Mobile will ask the Kerberos key distributor, which is your Active Directory in this instant, for a ticket-granting ticket, which is encrypted. At which point, user input is used to decrypt that ticket. That's where the credentials are entered, and I show a native iOS dialog. The iOS operating system is actually the one responsible and is managing this exchange. In which case, once you're authenticated, you can now request a ticket for specific services. This ticket-granting ticket, as I said earlier, can last a very long time, which is really nice because then you don't need to do user input all the time. Once we get the ticket from Tableau, it's returned, and we do one exchange to Tableau server. Now, this is nice. As I mentioned, you won't have to type in your password so often. However, it gets better. Instead of just having user input, you can actually use a user certificate as well to do the decryption. So what does that mean? If the user certificate decodes the ticket, that means that the user never types its credentials ever, which is really awesome. And in fact, while I've shown pictures up until this point, I found a picture of an absence of a dialogue really didn't get the point across, so I have added a video here for us to play. You notice I have my Tableau server typed in, and when I hit connect, I'm signed in. One click, they'll never have to type in credentials again. This is pretty awesome. Well, now we're signed in to our Tableau mobile app. We can get our workbooks, our worksheets. We have snapshots downloading in the background. But how long does it last? Tableau sessions expire after 4 hours of no use. This is the default and can be set. At which point, you may need to enter your credentials again. And it really depends on your setup. In general, user password, if you have Keep Me Signed On enabled, then no, you won't have to type in your password. SAML, often yes, because we don't have any access to the credentials. It's being done all by the identity provider. Finally, for Kerberos, it's only necessary when the ticket-granting ticket renewal is needed. And if you have a user certificate, then that's already doing the decryption for you, so you won't have to type anything in. So this ends up being a big debate. We have users who don't want to have to sign in, especially on your mobile device. Once I've signed in, I don't want to sign in, right? But IT, I want my users to be safe and renew their sessions often. I want a way to prevent access to a mobile device if a mobile device gets stolen. They shouldn't have an all-access pass to my Tableau server. This is why we have added connected clients. Connected clients shipped in Tableau Server 9.3. Users stay signed in for longer without entering credentials. When I say longer, it can be weeks or months. It depends on your use and the settings you set up in your Tableau server. What's really great, both server admin and the users have direct access to your tokens. So in this case, you can see in the list below that I have 3 tokens. I have one on my iPhone, I have one on my desktop, and I have one on my Android phone. To the right is a delete button, so if someone gets a hold of those devices, I delete the token, and we're all good. You might ask why desktop is there. Connected Clients works with desktop as well, so if you've upgraded your Tableau server and you're not signing in so often in desktop, this is probably why. Now, Tableau Mobile uses Connected Clients for Tableau Online only right now, but this is for iOS, and last week we shipped it on Android as well. However, we hope to ship it for on-premise servers as well, so then you don't have to sign in. Both IT and users are very happy. So what's the takeaway from this section of my talk? I talked about a lot of things. I talked about SSL certs. I talked about profiles. What do I need to do? Well, you need to identify your specific setup. Maybe I want to do Kerberos. Maybe I want to have that profile, that user cert. Maybe I need to make sure an SSL cert gets deployed. Identify your setup and use MDM to deploy it to all your users and have a really great sign-in experience for all of them. With that, I pass the baton on to Ron, who's going to talk about mobile device management.
Thanks, Madeline. So I've worked at Tableau for about 4 years now on the mobile team. I've worked in mobile, both on the hardware and software side, for about 16 years. So yes, before the iPhone. And for those of you who read my speaker bio, it's true, I last gave a talk at a conference 25 years ago this summer. Thought I would try it this year. Perhaps that's been a horrible mistake. Maybe I should have waited another quarter century to give a talk. We'll see. So mobile device management system. So this is software that runs, it's server software for wrangling your mobile devices. It can run on-premise or in the cloud, and it follows these protocols that Apple and Google have laid out for performing MDM functions. You can manage company-owned devices. You can manage user-owned devices. They both work fine. And basically, IT has more control over the devices that are connecting to your network. To get an idea of cost, it's on the order of $2.50 to $10 per device per month. And this is publicly available. You can find this on MDM vendor sites. But on the low end, that's about $30 per device per year. It's not so bad. So some of the things they do provide simple statistics about use. So what are the operating systems of the devices that are connecting? It gives you a nice idea there. But really, the strength of MDM systems is in their configuration capabilities. So you can configure VPN for your users. They don't have to do anything. You can just configure it for them behind the scenes. So to set up the tunnels that Madeline pointed out, you can just have that happen without any interaction on your user's part. You can install those SSL certificates that Madeline mentioned. So if you want the green check marks, you can install those behind the scenes. The user doesn't know that you've placed those certificates there. They just work. That includes Kerberos. So you can set up those user certificates that Madeline mentioned so that users can sign on without needing to type their credentials. And you can configure all sorts of other things, such as email. Again, don't want to have to make them enter what port number or server name that they want to connect to. Optionally, for iOS devices, Apple's got what they call their device enrollment program. And this lets you pre-configure your company devices so that as the user is opening the box, the device starts setting itself up. And again, they don't have to type anything. The device just knows where to connect to. It's pretty good. I put a little sample screenshot here. This was from an AirWatch server. You can see a whole list of items on the left. This wasn't all of the options. And here we're configuring VPN. We're using a Cisco VPN, and we're going to do per app VPN below. Past that, you can configure which apps are allowed to connect through to your internal network. MDM systems also let you control these devices, too. So you can require a device unlock passcode for devices that connect. And this plays into encryption on some OSs. You can disable the camera if you want. If you want to turn off screen capture, you can do that too. You can even specify which apps are allowed to use cellular data. So if you're paying for the phone connection, you can prescribe what's allowed to do that and what's not. You can remotely wipe devices. If someone reports their device lost, fine. You can wipe it as soon as it connects. You can even go further. So here are a few restrictions. I've got some example checkboxes on the right. These are 4 of dozens. One of them is allow wallpaper modification. I guess you can turn that off. That seems a little Orwellian to me, but I guess they're your devices. So if you really don't want that wallpaper changing, you can make it so people can't. So popular systems with Tableau customers include AirWatch, Mobile Iron, Good, and Citrix. Tableau Mobile is compatible with AirWatch and Mobile Iron. But what that really means is that our IT and QA teams have configured AirWatch and Mobile Iron servers. We've configured those in-house. We've tested them with actual Tableau servers, and we provide some getting started documentation. So that said, Tableau Mobile should work with any MDM system. We just haven't tested them all yet. So if you have an MDM system not named AirWatch or Mobile Iron, it is entirely possible that Tableau Mobile will work fine the first time you try it. For us, when we went to go push Tableau Mobile down to devices using AirWatch the first time, it worked fine. We didn't have to make any changes. I asked our developer IT folks, the ones who configured AirWatch and Mobile Iron, if they had any suggestions for customers looking to set those up. And they said basically, when you're setting up your system, talk with your MDM software vendor. They've probably seen your configuration before. They can save you hours of headaches. Talk with them when you go through the setup process. So MDM systems can also push apps down to devices. So you get to control which groups of people in your organization get which applications. And that includes Tableau Mobile. So you can push Tableau Mobile from the App Store down to your users' devices. All your users can run the same version. You can push it down behind the scenes. The user doesn't need to interact. They just automatically have the latest version that you have prescribed. I should mention here, we get this question sometimes about app wrapping. So this is kind of an older technology for distributing apps within an organization. Tableau Mobile uses it's called the WK WebView, the WebKit WebView library. It's the same library used by Safari on iOS. It is fast, uses less memory, and frankly, it doesn't crash as often as the other WebView option. But sadly, that prevents the app from being wrapped. It is possible to customize Tableau Mobile. We talked with customers, and kind of our goal here was to reduce friction during sign-in. So a lot of customers said we don't want employees to have to remember and then painfully type in their Tableau server URL. Hey, is there something we can do with that? Can we make it easier? So we went with AppConfig. It's an industry standard. There's more info available at appconfig.org. But the general idea is, you can see this terrible diagram on the left. The idea is that your MDM software grabs Tableau Mobile from the App Store, and then when it delivers it to the device, it sends along a special XML file with some key value pairs. So this is key equals value in that XML file. When the app starts up, it checks for the existence of these key value pairs. If it finds them, it uses them and changes the sign-in experience. If it doesn't find them, it continues on its merry way. So you use your MDM system to manage this XML, to manage these key value pairs. And the MDM system is what sends it down to the device. Our initial Tableau implementation is focused on sign-in, making that easier. And because MDM systems already have the concepts of groups, this means you can specify different sign-in experiences for different groups. So you can have the sales team get one experience, the marketing team gets a different experience, the engineering team can get a different experience. These key value pairs are listed here. I won't go into to detail on each one. There's some documentation online, but the important thing is there are keys on the left and values on the right, and this is what you would configure inside of your MDM system. But let's talk about what this looks like to a user. So here's the normal sign-in screen. So we've got the server name field and a button to connect to Tableau Online. The user types their server name, they hit connect, they go on their way. Now what we can do is add buttons for each of your servers. So you can see our key is app service hosts. Our value is a comma-separated list of server names, and each of those server names gets turned into its own button. So tap tableau.example.com, and the app will behave as though the user had typed that URL into the server name field. We can go a little further. If we don't want to actually show URLs, but want a little more friendly labels, we can set app service labels, so main and sales. The first server gets the main label, the second one gets sales. And these custom servers are labeled however we want. The user still has the option of typing in a server name or tapping that Tableau Online button. It's possible, if they only ever need to visit these two servers, maybe we don't want them to enter a server name. We can do that if we want. So if we set restrict servers to true and remove Tableau Online button to true, you're now seeing the exact options the user will have. When they tap the sign-in button, this is it. They won't have an option to type in a server name because you've decided that they don't really need that. Maybe that's a little too confusing. Coupled with the stuff Madeline showed with the Kerberos user certificate, this means users basically have one-tap access to your servers. They tap sign in, they see a list of the servers you want to show them. They tap one of those servers, Kerberos signs them in, they didn't have to type any credentials. When you're configuring this XML, this process varies between MDM systems. So I took a screenshot of an AirWatch system. It's got a button so you can upload XML. I know we all love handcrafting XML, so if you enjoy that, you can upload it yourself. You can also use their UI for configuring each key and value pair within their system. But other MDM vendors present different interface options there. Managing offline. So there are some offline capabilities of the app. Madeline mentioned it. The idea is that images of the user's favorites are cached on device. The user can view them without a network connection. And the way this looks kind of behind the scenes, the server maintains a cache of these snapshots. And the process is the device first registers its screen size, and then the server will refresh that cache periodically, and you can configure the timing on that. When the device next connects, each of its image requests, it'll ask for the cached version of that snapshot that's sitting on server. If the user manually refreshes their favorites, it will ask for the latest version of the snapshot. These snapshots are deleted when the user signs out or if the app is removed from their device. And you can configure these snapshots on a per-site basis. They're called offline favorites in your server settings dialog. Hey, so offline visualizations, they are in fact coming soon. The idea is that it's a special offline version of the viz. And features that require server access are disabled in this offline version of the viz. So a quick filter is a great example. When you change a quick filter, your device has to check with server to see what's changed. So a quick filter is disabled when you are offline. Features that don't require server access work just fine. They work normally. So a tooltip, data highlighting, those work fine. They don't require server access, so they're OK. This list of features will change over time. In fact, we basically have a whole team working to make as many features available offline as possible. And just like with snapshots, these visualizations will be deleted when the user signs out or when the app is removed from the device. How we do things, this is some of the ways that we do things internally on the mobile team. One of the things we have to do often is demo stuff. So we have a device in our hand, and we need to share that screen with a whole bunch of people. That can be challenging sometimes. So some of the things we do, I took a picture of the connections that we have in most Tableau conference rooms. So you can see an HDMI cable with some adapters. That white adapter there is an HDMI to Lightning adapter. It's about $40 from Apple. It is super handy. You can just plug that Lightning cable into your iPhone or iPad and show whatever you're showing on your screen. That isn't always an option, though. If you've got an iOS device and a Mac laptop, you can use QuickTime Player. So QuickTime Player can actually display and record iOS screens in real time. The idea is that you connect your device with USB, choose in QuickTime Player, choose File, New Movie Recording. You have to click the tiniest button ever. It's that little V, that like upside down chevron next to the record button, and that lets you choose what source and microphone QuickTime Player will use. And from there, you can choose your device to be what's shown on the screen. And at that point, you can record a movie if you want to give a demo for later on, if you want to show your users how to sign in to the server or how to use some feature of your mobile apps. Or you can share your screen. So you can just have QuickTime Player showing what's on your device, and then if you're on WebEx, for instance, you can share your screen and everyone will see what you've got on your device. If you're using Android, there's some software called Visor that works very similarly, and Reflector works for both iOS and Android. When giving demos, the hardest thing to remember is that the audience can't see your finger. So when you're screen sharing, they don't know where you're tapping right now. There's an option in the app for turning on these touch indicators. You can see the user's tapping sign in there, and it draws that big fat circle showing where their finger is. This helps out a lot. I suggest turning it on whenever you're giving a demo. And it also helps to explain what you're going to do before you do it. So explain your gesture before you perform the gesture. When you perform the gesture, do it slowly. So warn them ahead of time if you're going to drag, where are you dragging to? If you're going to tap, where you're going to tap. Because the user doesn't know where your finger is about to hit, you really have to tell them quite explicitly. Sometimes we have to troubleshoot things. When we troubleshoot network connections, we enjoy using Fiddler. It is an HTTP traffic sniffer. The idea is that it is software that runs on your PC. You configure your mobile device to route its traffic through Fiddler on your PC. So here I'm running Fiddler on my PC on port 8888. This works the same on Android devices. You can have them do that too. So all of my devices' traffic will go through Fiddler, and Fiddler will then show me everything that the device sends and receives. So here's that request for the initial XML info. I can look at the cookies there. If it's JSON data, it formats it nicely. This is a huge help when we're trying to diagnose network connections. When we're troubleshooting certificates, there are a couple of great apps on iOS. One is called SSL Detective. One is called Certificate Inspector. And these are on-device apps that will tell you what the status is of those SSL certificates. So if you're not getting the green check mark, this will help you debug what the heck is going on. And here are screenshots of a couple of these apps. Notably, we couldn't find a good solution on Android. Madeline, in fact, had to write her own SSL certificate app. She said it wasn't that hard. So, when we are troubleshooting general things, there's an option in device settings for sending support logs. This is pretty handy. It increases the logging level of the Tableau mobile app. And when you shake your device, it will draft an email to Tableau customer support and will give us more info on your issue. One of the things we do with the app is that it is reporting analytics in an anonymous way up to a central service that we use. And you can turn this off in settings too if you feel like that's a problem. The nice thing is it will upload on the rare, hopefully rare, occasion that the app crashes, we get a crash report uploaded to our server. But it's anonymous, so we can't tell that which user exactly had this crash report. We just know, hey, this happened, here's what they were doing before the crash, but we don't know who it was. If you send one of these support logs to customer support, we can de-anonymize those logs. So you don't have to have had this turned on when you experience the crash. You can go in after and say, hey, this crashed. Hey, Tableau, what's the story? Here's my info. And then we can go back and look and say, oh, OK. It gives us more info about what happened when that crash happened. When we're troubleshooting device layout issues, so Desktop Chrome has some pretty good developer tools. They've got this little option, that little blue button that looks like a phone and a tablet. You can turn on the device toolbar, and this will give you a set of options for your Desktop Chrome to simulate a mobile device. So here we've got it set to an iPhone 6 and the right pixel dimensions that an iPhone 6 would report. And Device Designer will honor this size. So if you're trying to figure out why a certain viz isn't sending what you expected, you can turn on developer tools even on a desktop, and it helps debug those issues. Mobile app bootstrap. If you are considering developing a custom mobile app, this is a great place to start. This is not Tableau Mobile. It is something else entirely. We're providing basically some sample code, some separate Objective-C and Cordova versions. There's an Objective-C library for doing those connected clients to keep your users signed in. And it is covered more in depth in a separate session later on today, Create Your Own App with Mobile App Bootstrap. I think in this same room, in fact. The takeaway here is if you are developing custom mobile apps, please let us know. Even if you aren't using this setup, if you've already got it handled, great. It helps us figure out where we should go next with this work. For further reading, we've got a mobile security white paper, deployment guide for deploying Tableau Mobile in your org. For customizing Tableau Mobile, all those key value pairs that I showed in that chart, there's more documentation available on that. And the mobile app bootstrap code is all available on GitHub. Other sessions you might enjoy right after this, there's a designing dashboard session, I think right in this room. After that, we've got the mobile app bootstrap session, also in this room. There's a lab going on this afternoon for mobile dashboards back at the convention center. And there's a meetup for Tableau Mobile. I think it's upstairs it might be the tiniest room ever. But I think most of us will be heading to that. Tomorrow there is Tableau on the Go, and back in the convention center, another session on mobile dashboard design, and some more mobile prototypes available right around lunchtime in the convention center. Yesterday, you might have enjoyed managing your Tableau server deployment like a boss. There's a Mobilize Your Organization talk, and data-driven alerts, very exciting, also available. These were yesterday, but they should be available on Tableau Live later on. Hey, so there's a new game in your TC16 app. It's called Find the Fives. Tap all the fives you can for our session. Try to get a high score. I'm told someone will win a prize. In all seriousness, there's a session survey. We'd love to hear your feedback, whether positive or negative. We enjoy reading it. Last, we are about 2 of many people on the team. There are folks in test, user experience, support, development, and documentation. Also, I want to give a special shout out to Ted and Ellie. I see Ellie in the back. Ellie is a product manager on mobile. She is standing up back there. She loves talking with customers about mobile. In fact, if you see her looking sad, it's because she hasn't talked to the customer about mobile lately. So please tell her your hopes and dreams. She would enjoy that. That's it for us. We've got time for some questions if anyone has them, but otherwise, thanks for listening.
I was just going to say, if you come to the meetup, we're raffling off a sweet Tableau mobile hoodie. I think it's raffle. Ellie, is it raffle or is it?
Oh,
There will be a Tableau mobile hoodie available.
Cool. Are there any questions? Yes.
The approach to certifying Tableau mobile for various software that enterprises use. I'm very interested in Tableau mobile, but another person at my company said that the good software that we use either doesn't work or Tableau doesn't work on it or it's not being certified.
So the question was, what's the approach for certifying Tableau mobile for certain MDM systems, it sounds like? That is a great question, and it is probably beyond the scope of what we can talk about here. But it might be very specific for your setup, so it's difficult to know what's involved. Allow me to direct you to Ellie, who is in the back of the room. Yes?
Touch ID, are you guys planning on doing something to where instead of typing in a password or anything like that, the user can authenticate through biometrics?
Will we be supporting Touch ID anytime soon?
Coming soon or anytime soon?
Will we? Sorry, I was just repeating the question, which was, I think, will we be supporting Touch ID? Do you know the answer to that? Because I've seen it work don't tell anyone, I've seen it work in a hackathon
That's what I was going to
project.
say. There was a hackathon where someone did it.
Yes.
But
But we haven't shipped anything, and I don't know if it's on our roadmap. If it is important to you, Ellie, in the pink shirt in the back of the room, would love to talk to you about it. In all seriousness, that helps us figure out where it should be on our priority list. Yes?
I'm a bit confused on the offline access because I believe in the deck you said that the snapshots are deleted on sign out. So if I'm somewhere and I want to be able to access my Tableau server online on my phone, I don't have network access. That means I can't see anything. I'm a bit confused on.
so there's a difference between being signed out and needing to re-authenticate. So when you first sign in, when you connect to your Tableau server, we're going to remember you go to my Tableau server. And so when you open up the app, we keep knowing that you're my Tableau server. However, if you have 2 servers, you may sign out, in which case we'll delete everything from the old server, the old user, and then you may choose to sign in again. So as long as you're re-authenticating, all that data is still there, but at any point at which you sign out, then it's gone.
You can be offline for a week, and as long as the server hasn't said, oh, I don't know who they are, or we need to kick them off, then the device will keep those snapshots around.
So there's a difference between signing out and authenticating on the mobile app on my phone or on my device.
Yes, needing to re-authenticate.
There's a difference between signing out and it's just been a while since I signed in.
Been a while since I typed in my credentials.
Yes.
So Ron and Madeline, thank you very much. Very good presentation. Appreciate that. You showed the Tableau authentication where it was just single touch. And that's what we want. That's the user experience we want. But we're using an Active Directory environment. same way? Or one
Yes, and in fact, that is that's the Tableau
Repeat the
setup.
question.
Oh, repeating the question. The question was, how do we get that one-click sign-in experience? And the customer uses Kerberos and uses Active Directory and AirWatch. And yes, and you can, via AirWatch, push down those profiles, push down that user cert, and you'll be able to have one-click sign-in.
And there's literature or links to somewhere embedded in that presentation to figure that out?
Yes, I believe that we had links to the authentication access, and on help at My Tableau, they talk about Kerberos as well. We definitely have a KB article about how to set up your Kerberos profile as
I
well.
don't have Cobros. I need it from AirWatch and AD, but I want
Yeah.
it to have that same experience that you demonstrated. One touch, one game, view file, boom.
Right, so the Active Directory can actually do the Kerberos protocol, so as long as you have the Active Directory.
If we don't have a step-by-step guide, that seems like a great thing that we should have.
So I should see out.
Yeah, I was going to, yes, exactly. She would love to talk with you about that guide because she's probably going to have to write it.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes.
Is there any plan to have the similar like a Tableau reader that is available on a desktop for reading the emailed Tableau files on the mobile device?
Are there any plans for Tableau Reader on mobile? I had that dream when I started. It is way more complicated than I would have thought. So I don't think there are plans in the near term for something like that. Yeah. Yes?
Is there one MDM you recommend over the others, or any quirks of some of the MDMs that you run into that just got work around it a bit?
Would we recommend one MDM system over the others? In theory, no. I will tell you that Tableau uses AirWatch in-house. Like that's what we use for our thousands of employees. So that means we have the most experience with it, and we would tend to, if there are any issues, run into and fix those issues sooner. So if they're all the same to you, that just happens to be the one that we use.
Have you run into issues with Mobile Iron or any weird quirks? Or
Have we run into issues with Mobile Iron? I don't think so. I think it's mainly worked okay. Yes?
As far as session timeouts for server, you can configure those to be customizable. Does that push to mobile timeouts as well?
Yeah, the session timeouts, they are configurable on server, and mobile is another client, and it runs at the whim of server. So if server says you're timed out, the device doesn't have a choice. So if you extend your, I think it's your workgroup session token timeout, I think the default is 240 minutes. If you make it 240,000, that works for both mobile and desktop and any other client that connects, and mobile has to honor that. It has no choice. Yeah.
So other than the access, the security access, you explained the difference between Tableau Online and Tableau Server. Is there any difference from the features perspective for a mobile connecting to online version of Tableau or server version of Tableau?
No.
No.
Are there differences between on-premise or Tableau Online servers? No, I don't think so. Tableau Online has a pretty interesting way so you can have different sites on physically in different locations on the planet. So I don't think Tableau Mobile allows site switching because you're really going, like you could have one in Singapore and one in Austin or whatever the server locations are. But other than that, they look the same to Tableau Mobile. Yeah. Yes.
One more question. I heard yesterday one of the features was dynamic sizing for mobile devices. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yes, so a question about dynamic sizing for mobile devices. Yeah, in Desktop 10, there's a way, it's called Device Designer, and it's a way to specify which layout you want to appear on a phone size or a tablet size or a desktop size. And you can have them be 3 different versions of that, but in that same workbook. So you can hand out one URL. If you visit that URL with a phone, it will look different than if you visit that URL on a tablet or on a desktop.
But I'm publishing one dashboard up to server, right?
Exactly. You're publishing one dashboard up to server. It's one file. and it's one URL. And there's a session at 12, like exactly after this, in this room, where some pros, Ryan and Phil, will tell you all about it.
And also at the kiosk, the mobile kiosk in Expo 5, we're giving demos of Device Designer. I was there yesterday, so stop by and we can show you Device Designer as well.
Yes?
I have a similar question. So if we were to implement Tableau mobile inside of Good, and let's say we're successful at first and then we have issues, can the open cases can be supported on that, or it's kind of on your own?
Let's see, so I think the question was if we start down the path of using Tableau mobile with Good and we have issues with it, will we be supported? Is that about right? We will certainly do our best. Like, our goal is to make it work everywhere. As engineers, we can tell you we would love to make it work. I don't know what the business issues behind that are. Ellie is in the back of the room if you'd like to talk about that.
I ask because there's some documentation that's fairly old online that says Tableau does not support mobile with Good.
Oh, you're-
It's 2014 maybe, but I haven't seen anything updated. So I would hate for us to put kind of mission critical stuff on there and then not be able to use our lead support or any support.
I agree. Ellie, do you have a comment?
Yeah, so I definitely want to address that improvement. Tableau Mobile is supported, we do support Tableau Mobile. I from that we recommend doing an application. Tableau Mobile is supported. And support team can help you debug issues on Tableau Mobile.
So for future list.
Tableau Mobile, you can pull it. If you certify or do it software platform.
Right now, we do not explicitly support it because we are in talks with Good about Debian because they don't use the app-based system, which is that industry standard. We know a lot of customers have that request, so we are trying to go through the process of enacting it right now.
Any other questions? Yes.
Is there any licensing restrictions and stuff like that, or you can still leverage your server licensing and stuff?
Oh, licensing restrictions for Tableau Mobile. No, it's free. We'll make more. Grab as many copies as you need. Yeah, there are no issues with that. Yeah. Yes.
Is there any push to have admin views for server admins on the mobile platform?
Is there a push to have admin views in the Tableau Mobile app? We've talked about that from time to time. If you think we should, please let us know, and we can figure it. Yeah, especially if you've got use cases where you're thinking of certain scenarios, I think it would be useful too.
I think it's mostly just my use case would be just general statistics type of views, the stuff that's already on the server now.
Yeah, so the use case is stuff that's already on server now. It would just be nice to make it easier to get to. Yeah, you're not going to get any. I'm an engineer. I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
I know of a person that created a custom server at Navy. It's been close to 2 years. So don't be creative, just go on Google, find out what it is.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks.